Hi, everyone. I'm Figs, and I'm the founder of Empathy.com, and I'm a couples therapist and relationship coach. So, today I want to give you this presentation in its entirety, the four keys to a better relationship. I emphasize in its entirety because often what happens when I give this presentation live, I end up never finishing the presentation for good reason, right? That we get audience participation, questions, which is obviously what I'm always hoping for. But every now and again, I get these questions kind of like, can I have the whole slide deck and can we get everything? So here it is. Okay, so the four key ingredients to a better relationship. So the first thing is just look, the presentation is for anybody that wants to feel more connected in a relationship, right? Obviously, there's no way you'd bother to sit through that if that wasn't you. Okay. So my goal is to just try and help you better understand what love is, how it works, what it is, why it's so important, so you can survive and thrive in your own relationship. And of course, these days, working from home, most or many of my clients are working from home, both partners, and trying to deal with parenting, and it's just hard. At the time of recording this, it's like the week before Thanksgiving. So I wanted to talk a little bit of how to prepare for holidays. And to be honest, any moment that there's a lot of expectations around for that's, obviously Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever the big holidays you have, birthdays, right? Like Valentine's Day, 4th of July, people just have all these, sex, right? People have big expectations around sex. Like there's all sorts of things that hopefully this little advice will be helpful for. So let me just say, if you do need to hop off, like obviously you're gonna, whatever platform you're watching this on, you'll be able to come back to it, pause it. But if you want to follow up with me, you could always just go to empathy.com. Just like my daughter, right? She can't remember my 6-year-old daughter. She can't remember my phone number, but she does know figs at empathy.com with an I on the end, not a Y on the end. She can parrot that off, which I always love. So I always say figs at empathy.com with an I on the end, not a Y on the end. That's relatively easy to remember. So, so a little bit about me and my wife. My wife is my co-founder, Teal. We're couples therapists, we're a couple, we're parents, and, both working from home, sharing a calendar. One of us is always with the kid when the other person's doing sessions. She's at the farmer's market right now. It's very hard for us to do stuff together. But yeah, look, we love what we do, and we're really lucky that what we do for a living is working on relationships. So it kind of is like a little advantage we have, to be honest, over other couples, that we end up working on a relationship a lot, right? Because we have to for work, right? Which is good for us, right? So anyway, there's all sorts of stuff here you can see that kind of other people have recognized us as experts. I won't harp on about it. But then let me just tell you a little bit about the whole point of empathy, why it's not just the two of us. We have a team of therapists and coaches, and we've also developed like this online quiz and app, the empathy quiz and relationship process that I would highly encourage. It's totally free. Like you should go through it, you and your partner. We also have courses we've built so that you can do it yourself. You don't want to see a counselor and you need something a little bit more than the free resources. But then, of course, we have the group coaching. And most important of all is we offer counseling to individuals and couples or coaching to help them have a better relationship. But to go back to the key point is, look, people that need relationship counseling, you're not sick. There's not something wrong with you, right? You shouldn't have to go to see someone in the medical establishment. I understand there are reasons sometimes why it is under the auspices of mental health, but it's really just personal development, right? Love and relationship is so important to all of us. And so just looking at it as personal development, and that's what we're trying to do, right? That we're trying to give effective relationship guidance to everybody, remove the stigma, and make sure there are resources that are really helpful for people, regardless of where someone lives and regardless of price point, right? So hopefully we can help as many people as possible. Okay. So, oh yeah, and this is just like our guru, like the guru. Don't worry, not like, in the Nexium sense, right? Like of the cult sense, but the creator of the type of couples counseling that we love and is the inspiration for our work, emotionally focused couples therapy. This is just some nice things that Sue Johnson said about us. Again, you can read it. I won't go on about it. So, but our number one qualification, both myself and my wife and all the therapists on the team, interviews that work here, I think are kind of weird for people because I'm actually more interested in tell me about your wounded parts, right? Because that's the most important thing. If you're going to help other human beings be able to love themselves and love each other, you have to have some wounded places inside yourself, right? And you got to be like willing to feel them and share them with people. No, don't make it about you, but so it's really important to be wounded. And so you can't just be a healer, because if you're just a healer, the only room there is for someone, the person that you're trying to help, there's only wounded energy left for them. So if you want them to access their own healer energy, you have to actually be embodied in both your own wounded parts and your healer parts, so that there's some healer energy left for them to find inside themselves. That may sound complicated. That's just the essence of archetypes and what it is, right? The yin and the yang, it's both, right? The light and the dark. You gotta have access to both, right? Okay. And so my wife and I, right, we're wounded, right? We're healers now, but there's still these little ones inside us that have hurt feelings, right? I'm the son of an alcoholic and a heartbroken mother, and there's still a little hurt boy inside there, right? Even though now I'm like, soon to be 50 years old, gulp, supposed quote unquote relationship expert, right? When it comes to love myself, there's still this little boy inside. Okay. Same with my wife, right? She's an amazing couples therapist, right? But she also has a little girl inside that has her own family heartbreak, right? That she's still here. Okay. So, so this is really important, right? Like that what makes us anyway good at our work is because we have these vulnerable hurt places. So we can resonate with our clients, right? That we can actually really get when someone tells us their story or what they're struggling with right now in their relationship. We know those places inside of us, and we're willing to go there and touch them and feel them with people. Okay, this is just a quick image, say like who we are now. Here we are, these like little kids that had like pain in our lives, but we did our work. We grew to love ourselves and love each other so that we could be the loving presence for our kids and our little furry doggy, Zephyr, that they deserve too. Okay, so quick little bit before we get into the 4 ingredients. Like I mentioned, I just wanted to talk to you about how to prepare for the holidays. So, and like I said, anytime where there's great expectations, right? So when you were born and your partner were born, you were born inside your own family's culture, and you didn't know any different. Your family culture is just like, like the water a fish swims in. It's just there, right? You can't even see it. You couldn't even describe it because it just is, right? But so let's say, so you don't realize then when you and your partner, your spouse got together and you decided to create your own goldfish bowl, right? Your own family culture, you came with preconceived notions and felt sense in your body about what love is, what to be held is, what's acceptable ways to talk to a human being, what are, reasonable expectations to have as a human being. I always get there are just millions and millions that people come into starting a new family, these kind of cultural expectations they have. And by the way, just notice, I'm not even talking about the difference in like, look, you were born in Africa and I was born in, in San Francisco, right? We're just talking about even like everybody has this cultural melting pot they're trying to create when you start a new relationship and a family, right? Even if it's, you're a family of two, right? So here's an example of what happens between people, right? One person grew up in a house that was really clean, right? they didn't even realize themselves that they incorporated this message that part of being loved and held is to be provided a clean environment. And then they get together with a partner that, look, the house being clean was not part of what it meant to be loved. In fact, there being books packed up on the coffee table and artwork station that was messy. Like, that's what love is, right? Like, you know, and like making sure there's time for experiences together is much more important than like whether the dishes are done immediately after a meal. And then they start their new family culture together, and one person is like, oh my God, like, how could you leave the dishes this long? What is wrong with you, right? Now, they don't understand the reason they're so critical is because deep down inside, if you really love me, you would have cleaned the dishes. It's actually an emotional love need. But then, of course, it touches their partner that doesn't think like the dishes being cleaned has anything to do with whether I love you, right? That is like, ouch, what's the big deal? Don't be getting your knickers in a twist, Mr. or Mrs. or Ms., whatever, like controlling pants, right? So look, they both end up getting hurt, but hopefully you can start to have this understanding that, look, we're just bringing our expectations of what it was to be held and cared for, that we were just born into, right? And then the experiences we had like while we were living in our family of origin. Now, the same is true then for the holidays and stuff, right? So when you think about like stuff like the holidays, right? If you expect, like right now I'm recording this the week before Thanksgiving. So like say, for example, Thanksgiving, say one person in a relationship is like, oh, goody, Thanksgiving. I can't wait to do meal prep. And that means we're going to do it together and we're going to have a great time. Totally valid, understandable. That's what Thanksgiving meant. It was something they looked forward to. Now, their partner may have experienced Thanksgiving as, oh my God, I am going to be locked in a room for 10 hours with my family and relative, like extended family. Like, it's going to be awkward. It's going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be powerless. Like, this is like, my internal intuitive response to Thanksgiving is to collapse inwards and try and disappear and just survive. Both experiences are completely valid, and they're both worthy of a lot of love and empathy and respect, right? But people don't necessarily understand what's really happening inside themselves. They don't understand what's really happening inside their partner. So I would really try and be curious about yourself, be curious about each other, and why then it makes sense that we could end up in this place of failing to meet each other's expectations or touching another person's sensitive spot when I insist, like, we got to make a big deal out of Thanksgiving, when I get it, touch is actually a painful place inside for you. Okay. If you can do that, if you can be curious about yourself, share with your partner what you discover, what Thanksgiving means, and be open and curious to understand what it means to your partner. And again, substitute, I say Thanksgiving is the next one, this instant when I'm recording this, but like Christmas, Hanukkah, 4th of July, Valentine's Day, birthdays, right? It's just unending, right? Whatever holiday you celebrate within your culture, right? Within culture at large and the culture of your family. Okay, if you can do all that, then maybe you could approach the holidays as an informed, empathic team. Okay, so what are these 4 ingredients we're going to try and talk about? 1, love matters. What is love? We'll talk about that. The versus illusion, right? It's not a me or you problem, it's both of us. And process is more important than the solution to a problem. This is one that people just like, it's a hard one to get and accept. We just stop trying to solve problems and start being in the process with each other, right? You know that one. It's the journey, not the outcome, right? So the last one is the magic is in the repair. The most important thing in your relationship is not what you do to make sure you never get disconnected. It's what you do after you're disconnected, during you're disconnected, and how you get back to connection with each other. Again, I always say, like, if you really knew how to get out of this connection, you'd be doing it. It's not what immediately is apparent to you what you need to do. You can't just throw tactical solutions at things. We have to shift our perspective in ways that we're not used to. And that's what empathy are here for, hopefully to help you do that. So, what's the first key ingredient? Love matters. Like, right. So, we all need love, right? Love is not an option, right? And when I say love, I could substitute the word love with attachment, and we could substitute the word attachment with the need to be emotionally bonded. We all need to be emotionally bonded, love, from the cradle to the grave. Right. When you were born, your first needs were not food and shelter. Your first needs, so there's a good word, there was a good enough other on the other side of your birth who was going to be there for you physically and emotionally, that you could rely on them. Okay, I'm safe. Because literally, if they weren't there, you would die. That's how big a deal it is to have your person there for you when you're a baby, right? Because, again, we're useless, right? As human babies are just, we can't do anything. We're absolutely dependent on another person to be there for us, to feed us and hold us and keep us safe and to mirror us so our brains develop. Right? Hugely important. And your body is built to detect, are they there? And to scream out, cry out, protest when it looks like you're not being loved. Now, you've grown up, I've grown up, but literally your physiology has not changed. It's exactly the same. Nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is your primary attachment figure, the person you look to be emotionally bonded with and loved by, is no longer your mother or your primary caregiver. Fingers crossed that's true. Now, your primary person, right? That person you want to feel emotionally bonded with and loved by is your partner. It's that person, whether you're married or you're living together for the last 10 years or you just started your relationship, that's the one that now my body is like, are you there for me in these ways that I'm sensitive to? And we all have slightly different sensitivities in love. Okay. So the old way that people would look, so that's the underpinnings of just evolutionary biology. You need love and you're physiologically built to need it. Would you stop fighting? For God's sake, stop trying to think you shouldn't hurt and your partner shouldn't hurt and other people shouldn't hurt. Of course you do, because love is that important, right? It just is. Now, the old way we would look at stuff is like, oh, if you're hurting in love, there's a big problem. Oh, I need to give you some advice on how you should change your behavior to meet my needs. And then I better look at myself and I better become a better communicator. No, there's some value to trying to become a better communicator. But if you're doing that outside of the frame that we're physiologically built to need love and it's okay to hurt, and two people that love each other, of course they're going to get scared in moments. Of course we're going to scare each other because it looks like we're not there for each other. It only happens because how much our love means to each other. So just try and stop this whole trying to get your partner to change, you to change, and start working on the frame in which you see things. If some of you might be familiar with this picture, like, I got, I don't know, the first time I ever saw it, right? And it's called like, the old hag and the young maiden, or the young maiden, the old hag. Obviously, would never refer to a woman as an old hag these days. Someone will retitle this picture, please. But so when you look at it first, let's just say, theoretically, you only see the old woman in the picture, right? That is this old way. Oh, we're fighting. There's a problem between us. We have to work on this. This is really bad, right? I'm not getting my needs met, right? Or are you even getting your needs met? Maybe you need to be someone else, right? All of that malarkey, right? Now that Joe Biden has brought the word back, I can use it, right? But anyway, all of that rigmarole, right, that people go through and scare each other even more into an even worse relationship, that's not what's actually happening. A slight shift of the head, a slight softening of the gaze, we start to see the young maiden, which represents, from my perspective, is, oh my God, I got really hurt right now, where it seemed like you weren't there for me. And that's why I started protesting by telling you you're a terrible partner, explicitly or implicitly. And I now understand how much my love and my opinion of you means, because I'm your primary person. And it makes sense. You would have been really hurt. So no wonder you pulled away even further from me. That's why you did that. And now I feel even more alone. And I was even more likely to blame and criticize you. Oh, I see it. I see how our love for each other and why we're so important for each other is what actually got us in this negative cycle. Okay, that changes everything. We're fighting because we love each other. Now, this picture, I think, represents this best, right? This is the picture I've seen shared from Burning Man the most over the last 5 years. Love this picture, right? You can see the grown-ups, right? The supposedly competent, grown-ups that we all are, sitting back to back in so much pain, being disconnected. It's like this is the end of a fight, right? Who knows how it started, but this is where they ended up. You're not there for me. You're withholding your love for me, both of them, right? But you can see in the inside, there's these little hurt, vulnerable ones inside of both of them, right? That are desperately longing to try and find each other. And they really want to be there and love each other. So this is what I want you to think about in your relationship. There's not actually just two of you, there's four of you. And we're not talking about some polyamorous open relationship way. Right? Just talking about just the two of you, because there's your two grown-up ones that protest as a way to protect the little vulnerable ones. Remember, you saw the pictures of Teal and I. We're all vulnerable little ones when it comes to love. And you have a little vulnerable inside of you, and you protest it in a particular way to try and protect that vulnerable one. But the way you protest when you're hurting actually hurts the little vulnerable one in your partner. And so they protest in their particular ways, which then again hurts the little vulnerable one in you, and on the cycle goes. Ouch, so painful, right? So this takes us to the second key ingredient, what we've named the versus illusion. And this is where, like, look, typically what happens when a couple comes to see me is both people only have access to, I'm hurting and you did it to me. Look at you, I'm hurting and you're on your phone. You don't even care about me. You're such a bad partner. And of course, the person on their phone, they're just going like, well, if you're going to be disappointed in me and reject me and tell me I'm terrible, fine, I will check out, right? Because you're just being too sensitive, right? So they're both like, look, you're the one that's making this worse, right? Everybody comes in to see me at first as the world's renowned expert on the problems of their partner, right? If I was to hold a conference next week on the problems of your partner, you would be the keynote speaker, right? And vice versa. If there was going to be a conference on your problems and what you do wrong, I would invite your partner or spouse to be the keynote speaker. And we need to correct that. We need to have you be the world-renowned expert on your own issues and how you make love difficult. But even more importantly, the true keynote, the special appearance that everybody is dying to see, is both of you are going to talk together about, look what we co-create with each other. You're going to do a joint presentation, which takes us to the key first thing that if I'm ever going to be able to help a couple, we've got to help them go from these two separate narratives. I'm hurting and you did it to me, one person, and the other person, oh yeah, well, I don't feel great because of the way you're being too sensitive, right? They've got these two different stories, and we got to merge those two stories into one shared story of what's happening. You both make sense, right? If you can get to that place where I can see you don't have to be invalid, what's happening, it makes sense I'm hurting and why I protest the way I do, but the way I protest, it hurts you. And now you're protesting the way you do. You shut down or pull away, I blame or criticize, I ask you questions. And all we're managing to do is to hurt each other. If that's where you ended up, that I see how we're both co-creating this, then you would know your common enemy and you could march the rest of the path together, literally both of us now. We know that we both make sense. This is not a me or you issue. This is both of us, right? That's the hardest shift to make. Because physiologically, what's happened if you make that shift is you've gone from threatened, and you have to protect yourself, whether you're a fighter, a flighter, a freezer, or a placater. You've actually gone for they are the only options you have. Even if you actually think you're saying really smart things, your body's actually like doing this, like, I got to fight for my life. And your partner's doing the same. But if you can go from, hold on a second, this isn't a me problem or a you problem, this is us, your body can start to feel safe. And now you have access to all sorts of empathy and compassion and problem solving skills in ways that you cannot have access to when you're inside the versus illusion. You both make sense. Not a me or you issue. It's both of us. So you got to get on the same team, right? Simple as that. You must first get on the same team. And we'll get into this, and we talk about the process. You got to stop thinking you're fighting about the issue of the day. You're actually in an emotional cycle with each other, and you got to resolve the emotional cycle first. Okay. So here's how do we do this, right? How do you do it? How do you go from I'm locked in my subjective experience thinking the other person is the one that hurt me, and if they just changed, everything would be better, and my partner, of course, feeling the same way. Oh yeah, well, thanks for telling me, because I have a few suggestions about how you could change, and then everything would be better, right? Just like these two people here, and they're just going back and forth. Like one time someone's attacking the other person, the other person's pleading their innocence. Sometimes they're both attacking each other. It's just a disaster. But as we know, right underneath that behavior, remember the little babies inside are really hurting, the little vulnerable ones inside, because you're the person who really loves me. But those ones look invisible. You can't see them and have no access to them in the middle of the fight, right? So again, just like in that picture from Burning Man, they both end up feeling alone, not loved. The other person's withholding their love for me. It really hurts, right? And so they both end up feeling disconnected. Tragedy. Right? But they can't see it. They can only see I'm hurting and the other person is just being mean. But I, Figs, therapist, coach, I'm sitting in the director's chair. I'm sitting in the center of the audience, seeing this play, this drama unfold. And so I can see from the both characters, I get like, oh my God, it totally makes sense you're hurting. And it makes sense the other one is hurting. And I see then this awful negative system, this dance that is so painful that you then both co-create with each other. So I'm going to call on both people. Hey, come here, come take a seat in the audience with me. Look at the whole drama unfold. Don't you feel so sad for both of these people? Not just you and not just you. It's so painful to see you both disconnected like that. Again, do you notice that? It starts to shift from let's work out who was wrong, let's work out who started it, to how do we get to a place that I see how I make sense and you make sense. This is so painful for the two of us. That seems like very simple words, but that is a physiological shift that happens. And now we can, an empathic, compassionate bridge. See the way they're holding their hands? The same fight just happened, the same hurt just happened, but now we could actually have so much love and care for the parts of us that got hurt and see our own part in it. Okay, takes us to the third key ingredient, right? So the third key ingredient, right? It's the process, silly. Look, I try so hard to come up with analogies to explain this to people, because this is a really hard one for people to give up on, right? That like, you know, we have to solve the problem. If we have a problem of the day, let's come up with a practical answer to that problem, right? Well, if you're arguing or fighting, the truth of the matter is you're not actually fighting about what you think you're fighting about. You're not fighting about the problem of the day. Let's say you're driving together and one of you says we should go left and the other person says, no, we should go right. You think you're fighting about which direction we go. If you're literally fighting, it's nothing to do with whether it's left or right, right? It's actually, we played it out, right? Like I say, hey, come here, let's go left here. And the other person is like, wait a second, what are you talking about? Like Google Maps is right there. And it just said like, take a right, like, and then it, like, you know, the first person who goes, you don't see it, but it actually hurt their feelings. Like what? Like, why don't you just trust my intuition ever? Right. So I don't know if you noticed, they didn't feel trusted. And now they're like they literally criticize the partner. But the partner can feel really unsafe and like, it's really hard for me to trust that everything's going to be okay. And that's why I wanted to give over responsibility to Google, like master Google, right? But so they actually were getting scared inside, and they just felt, and their partner shouted at the part of them that was scared. So now they're really hurt. And so now they're going to look out the window and like, whatever. And so then the person was like, that didn't feel trusted, is like, I can't believe it. Like, why you never trust me? And so now they're going to look out the window. But they probably, two people in the real world, they still think they're fighting about, they don't understand and they don't have access to all the emotional stuff that was happening inside them. So they still think they had a fight about whether we went left or right at that junction. That was just a trigger that got him into if you really love me conversation. If you really love me, you would see that I get scared and that you could be there for me when I suggest that we just follow Google. It just feels safer for me. Well, if you really love me, you would trust me and you would stop doubting me. It's so painful when you doubt me because I got a sensitivity to being doubted, right? That's what we have to resolve before we decide whether we go left or right. Now, look, obviously sometimes you have to listen, you have to go left or right, but you have to earn the right to think it's like we just go left or right. And how you earn the right is you're able to, if push came to shove, you know you can get to the heart of the matter, emotionally speaking, of what was happening inside of each of us that drove our responses, that hurt the other person's little ones deep down inside, and why we got stuck with each other, right? Okay, it's all about your emotional bond. If you're fighting, it's not about, who cleans the kitchen or whatever other issue you're fighting about. So in order to try and explain this about it's the process, I created this little story, hopefully to illustrate it. So, this isn't true anymore. My wife and I actually have a really good system down with who cleans the kitchen. We just trade off nights, right? It seems obvious now, the solution, but to illustrate the point, look, back in the day, a couple of years ago, we would fight all the time, right? About because I'd come home after working a lot and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. Like, was there any way you'd clean the kitchen tonight? And she'd like, what? Like, what do you think I was doing all day? Right? No, like it's your night. So I would be hurting, I really feel like I need to know, are you there for me? Like I feel overwhelmed. Will you be there? Will you consider my feelings? And it looked like the answer I got back was no. So I'd be pissed. I'd be upset. Whatever. Right. So I'd be disappointed in her and signal it. But when she heard me ask the question, will you clean the kitchen? It actually touched a place in her where she felt, my wife would feel like I didn't value her work as much as I was valuing my contribution. So her feelings got really hurt. And that's why she came back kind of like, oh my God, what do you think I was doing all day? So we both got hurt, totally, in my mind, again, totally understandably. No one is right. No one is wrong. We're both right. We both got hurt. And then we both responded to each other in ways that it hurt the other person, right? Totally makes sense. But we'd have this fight. And about what I recognized was we'd always kind of resolve it in about 30 minutes. So here's what I did. But it was a really painful 30 minutes. So I built a time machine. So that I could work out how to go forward 30 minutes in time, right? To where everything was resolved. So this one night when we started fighting about the kitchen, I'm like, I go on, Tia, you do it tonight. And she's like, again, like, what do you think I'm doing all day? Oh my God, I just asked you to think about my, so we're just doing the thing. And I said, wait, stop. And I marched out of the kitchen, just wait a minute, right? And I marched out of the kitchen, went into our office, and I jumped inside this little time machine, just big enough for my, big frame to fit inside. Got in the time machine, hit the digits to go forward 30 minutes into the future, right? Where we really resolve things. This is a picture of the time machine. I know it's hard to believe I fit in there, but I do, right? Anyway. So I'm in the time machine. I put it up like 30 minutes into the future. I jump out, go over to the kitchen. I look inside the kitchen and I see me. I'm there washing the pots and pans in the kitchen. I've made extra bubbles and I'm taking the bubbles and I'm flinging them across the kitchen at Teal. Teal is dodging the bubbles, laughing as she cleans the countertops. We've got music on, we're dancing, we're sipping a little wine. We're having the time of our life. So I'm all excited, go back into the office, jump in the time machine, go back 30 minutes, get out, go back to the kitchen, and I go into Teal and I say, wait, I got it. I know how we make all of this right. I'm going to wash all the pots and pans. I'm going to make extra bubbles. I'm going to fling those bubbles at you. Let's open a bottle of wine, get the music going. Let's dance. And you just do the countertops. And she looks at me and she goes, F you, Figs, F you, and storms out. So I'm like, what the hell? What kind of a time machine is this? Maybe it put us in a other dimension or a parallel universe. If anyone's watched Dark, or Devs recently. Anyway, so listen, I being a guy, right, and a hot-blooded fella that I am, I go back into the office, I kick the time machine because clearly the time machine was broken. And my wife and I end up going to bed, like the image, back to back, disconnected. And it just sucks. 4 in the morning, I wake up. I got it. It wasn't the time machine that was broken. That was not the problem. The problem is when we got in the time machine, we cut out the 30 minutes of the process we went through to actually get to a place where we're connected, where any type of solution would work. So what happened during that 30 minutes? Well, what happened during the 30 minutes that we cut out by going into the time machine was I was able to really hear, and it's, chicken or the egg, which way first? First, I was able to, well, actually, first I was able to see like, hey, we're both hurting and we're both hurting each other, regardless of how this started. I don't care about who's the bigger bad guy. I don't care about who started it. Right now, this second, this snapshot of this moment we're in right now, both of us are hurting and both of us are hurting each other, right? I do this symbol. This is infinity symbol. Down here, this is the little hurt me. This is the little hurt Teal. And these are the parts. This is the way we react when we're hurting. And the way we react keeps hurting the other person. So we're in this infinity loop with each other, right? That's the first thing. And hold on a second. I now get it. When I asked you, will you do it? It seems like I'm not valuing you, and to not be valued by me, that must really hurt because my opinion of you means so much because I'm your person. I kind of get now why you would have been so mad at me. And before I've even said it, she's like, Figs, thank you. But listen, I understand that you are hurting and you are trying to see, like, am I there for you? Is there any way I can be there for you when you really need me? And it seemed like my answer to you, even though it was born out of I felt hurt in relationship to you, it seemed like I was saying, no, your feelings don't matter to me. Like, I'm not there for you. So I get why you would have been hurt and so pissed off with me. Okay, so now if we're no longer a threat to each other, we're both hurting and we can see our part in it. That starts to open up this bridge where now we can share with each other, hey, Teal, I really care and love that part of you. I do value you. I love everything you just did today. I know you've been working so hard. And she's able to look at me and go, Figs, look, I just can't imagine how overwhelmed you must be. I really want to be here for this part of you that felt like you're all alone with everything. I am here. You're not in it alone. And we squeeze each other's hands and our little noses rub against each other. And we start making, this is going to be a PG presentation, right? But anyway, it was that going through the process. It's both of us. We're not in the versus illusion. It's only happening because we love each other. And then we're able to signal and show each other, I actually do value you. And she's able to show in a way that I really feel it, that you're not alone. Notice, imagine that place. Any solution could work now, right? Like, this is what actually happens. Tia's like, Figs, let me do the dishes tonight. And I'm like, no, I'll do them. And that's why we ended up settling on, let's do it together and let's have fun. But it was the process that made that possible, not the details of the solution. Okay, so don't try and avoid the emotional process, okay? Okay, so yeah, no solution is going to work if either of you ends up feeling unloved or not considered. So yeah, so the 3 ingredients today: love matters, would you stop fighting it? You're hardwired to need love, and it's both of you. The versus illusion, it is both of you. It is not a me or you problem, right? Get on the same team, right? And then process is more important than outcome. Okay, the last of the 4 ingredients, the magic is in the repair. This is another one that is a little paradoxical for people. Most people want to work on how can we be really nice to each other all the time. That's what they want to put their relationship work energy into. I'm going to be a better communicator. I'm going to be more romantic, or I'm going to help you be a better communicator, or you be more romantic. And listen, it's not like that energy is bad inherently, but if that's how you're approaching your relationship, and you're outside of that frame of, look, when we fight, it's just because we love each other and we mean so much to each other, and both of us are stuck and both of us are hurting each other. Unfortunately, the work that you do to try and make sure we're this amazingly happy couple, like all the time, it'll actually end up setting yourself and your partner up for more failure and more disappointment, because you cannot meet those expectations. Because you're so important to each other, your bodies are primed to get scared when it looks like you're not there for me. You will hurt, you will react, you will hurt your partner, they will react. Being disconnected, if you love each other, is normal. Stop treating it like it's this disaster that just happened, right? It's not. It's only a disaster if you don't give yourself and the other person a chance to get out of it, right? Because this is what happens, right? What happens is when we fail to meet these expectations that we're just going to be awesome, like the fairy tale said, like we didn't even realize we had built inside us that this is what we think love is. It's supposed to be amazing all the time. You're going to end up creating this greater disconnection. But can you tolerate staying with the process? Just like Teal and I did in the kitchen, right? We were disconnected. It looked impossible. No matter who cleans the kitchen now, no one's going to feel better. But we stuck with the process to see, look, I can see it's both of us. I'm hurting, you're hurting. All of this is really important. And I see the way my behavior impacts you. And then I actually care about your feelings and I can tell you. And she could do the same to me. That's what opened up the bridge that we could be reconnected to each other, right? That is how we do it. Now, so you got to give yourself and your partner a chance to repair. So I made this, here's this story I sometimes tell people. And actually, I think I shared this story in our flagship online course. But by the way, there's no sales part in this presentation. Don't worry. I'm not going to ask you to buy anything or anything, right? But so anyway, so here's this. When I first came to America, I remember I was in line to buy tickets for Sunset Boulevard. I think Glenn Close was starring in it. So this is like the early 90s. I think it's even before I first got here. Like it might have been the summer, like 92 or something, 1992. And it's bad when you have the previous century. But anyway, so I said to my friend that I was in line with, here, why don't you chant your arm and jump to the top of the queue? Right? I thought I spoke perfect English. Like I couldn't understand why she kept asking me to say it again and again and again and again. Right? And so like she just thought I was a crazy person. Like, no, like you want me to do something with a pool cue over my arm? Like I don't like. So anyway, I thought it was hilarious at the time. So I looked up, where does that saying come from? Chant your arm, right? Because we use it in Ireland all the time, just to take a chance, right? Like, go on, be naughty, jump to the top of the line, right? Is what I was trying to say. Okay, so of course now I've been in America long enough, like I'm never naughty. I'm very rule abiding. Okay, so here's the deal, right? There were these two Irish clans back in the Middle Ages. I don't remember their names right now, but let's call them the Murphys and the O'Briens, right? Well, the O'Briens, I don't remember what happened, but let's just say the O'Briens stole the Murphys' sheep, right? Because, in Ireland, that's all. They just had sheep, right? I'm allowed to say that because I'm from Ireland, right? You're not allowed to say that all we have is sheep. But okay, but so anyway, so the O'Briens stole the Murphy sheep, and the Murphys were really upset because I thought those O'Briens were our friends. So the Murphys got all their men together and they laid siege to the O'Brien castle. And this went on for months, right? Until one day the Murphy chieftain had enough and he marched to the gates of the castle and he reached his hand in through the gates. And the O'Brien chieftain marched himself down to the gates of his own castle and he took the Murphy chieftain's arm and he shook it. He didn't chop it off, right? He shook it. So the Murphy chieftain took a chance. I will give my chance to get out of this stalemate, this negative cycle I'm in with my dear friend who, that's why my feelings were so hurt when he took my sheep, is because he actually really matters to me. I care about him actually caring about me and respecting me, and my feelings got hurt. And that's why I've been laying siege to my castle. But I want to see if I can give myself and give them a chance to repair. So he did. He took a chance. He shoved his arm with no armor on it through the gates of the castle. And the O'Brien chieftain did not chop it off. He actually gave the Murphy chieftain the chance and he shook it, right? That's what I want you to do. right? Once you can see, hey, love matters. That's the only reason we're fighting. The key ingredient, number one. Number two, this is not a me or you thing. This is both of us. Number three, it is the emotional process. It's not even about the sheep. It was because you were so important to me and I'm so important to you that both our feelings got hurt. Doesn't matter who started it. Look how much we mean to each other. And you're able to see it and then show each other, I really care about your feelings. And then one of you dares to put your hand through the gates of the castle, chance your arm. Could I be there for you? Is there any chance you give me a chance to reconnect with you? And then when someone does that, for God's sake, would you take their hand and give them a chance? It takes both of you. Okay. So I think that's actually all of it. That's good. By the way, you know what I didn't say is this is the second time I've recorded this presentation today. I just did it, and I had the wrong mic on. Heartbreaking. But I insisted to myself and do it as I'm like sweating. I'm doing it a second time immediately because otherwise I would have been depressed all day. So look, like I said, no sales pitch. Just if you want to learn more, go to empathy.com. You can take the quiz. You can take one of our online courses. You can schedule a free consult for counseling or coaching. Just, we want to be here and we want to help. We want to be your go-to resource to help you with your relationship. Okay. Now, I'll leave you with this. The best part of you, or the part of you, let me start again. The part of you that needs love the most is not a weak or needy part. It is the best part of you and it deserves love. We all long to be snuggled up under Mother Nature's security blanket, that emotional connection with another. So what does that basically mean? Look, love, being emotionally bonded is as good as it gets, right? It doesn't get better than that. Life is going to give you great moments and hard moments, and you're definitely going to die. Everything's going to end in tears, right? Sorry to be like, leave you on that note. The best thing we have is that we could feel connected with another, inside a family or inside a community of like minds as we move through this journey of life. So you matter, your partner matters. Please love each other, be kind to yourself and each other. And thank you so much. I hope this presentation was useful. And if I can be here, our team can be here for you in any other way, don't hesitate to reach out. Bye for now.